there. Are you someone who works with water startups? And I mean, at any level, early stage, late stage, are you someone who invests in water startups or seeks to acquire late stage startups or does accelerators, incubators, SBIR programs, any way part of that water entrepreneurship community that is around the startups that is helping to create the next great innovations in the water space? That sounds like you need to watch this video. You need to look at what we have posted on this page. You need to come to the very next WaterPitch, Water Startup Matching Extravaganza 3-day event hosted by DC Water here in Washington, DC, May 4th through 6th, 2026. Mark your calendars and listen to this video. Now, like I said, if you're into pictures and all that, I'm not going to share any slides. You can scroll below. But I want us to have a little conversation about why it is you need to come if you are an investor or an investment fund manager or doing corporate venturing, right? If you are with a foundation that is trying to fund the next great innovations or contracting from an agency in the form of the Small Business Innovation Research Grants. Are you with the Water Sector Innovation Office, right, for a utility or an agency or something like that, or in some other high water use, high water impact industry, commerce, residential homes, hospitality industry, you name it, right? And of course, we also work with incubators, accelerators, prizes, challenges, everything from idea to exit. If you're working with people who either work with water technology and require some kind of knowledge of water or have a technology like some of the new AI systems that for everything from customer service to billing to you name it, anything that helps people who work with water to do it better, faster, cheaper, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. All this great stuff that's coming out, we bring that all together. So WaterPitch has really evolved over the last 3 years. This is our 4th annual WaterPitch event. We hold one event a year. We do not go try to convince some law firm to give us use of their space for free and try to convince people to show up for free and pocket all the money like some other people. We've really evolved into this 3-day event that is designed to meet the needs of the water entrepreneurship community as a whole. And you'll see in our marketing, we talk about putting startups in the center. This is something that's very different from what you're going to see at the standard, water tech, aqua tech, blue tech, whatever events out there, right? Usually what happens with those larger events is, yes, it's a great place to see a lot of the innovations, and most of the revenue comes from the larger entities, the larger utilities, the larger consulting firm vendors, whatever, the sponsors of those events. And then the startups themselves are kind of off in a little corner somewhere. We call that startups on the side, right? Maybe they get the little Miss America walk across the stage, line up a whole bunch of startups. Maybe I've actually had producers of those events tell me before that they'll do like a little Shark Tank thing just for entertainment. Like, so the startups are kind of, they're not the main event. Now, we have our ticket sales come from, we charge for our startups, not all that much, but we charge for our startups to come to this event so that they can pitch and so that they can connect with you, right? You are a big reason why they're coming to this event. So we want to make sure that we take very good care of the investors, the funders, the water sector innovation folks, the industrial, commercial, residential sector, water folks, the incubators, prizes, innovation hubs, clusters, and all the other folks. So here's how we set this up. And again, look below if you need pictures, right? So try to imagine. So day one is what we call prep day. We actually do several weeks leading up to the event. We set up our program well in advance so that we can be working with anyone who's giving a presentation. That includes the pitches and what we call reverse pitches. So that's you, right? Investors, clients, etc. You guys give reverse pitches. I'm not just asking random people to stand up and give us some thought leadership or talk about how innovative their company is. You're there to talk to um, innovators and say, you know, what is it that we're looking for, any drivers and constraints right now, and how do startups work with you? And if you look below, you'll see specifics for each of the different types of reverse pitch. But at any rate, so we alternate between pitch sessions and reverse pitch sessions. We also divide each of the startup pitches into different categories. So you know what you're going to be able to see. If you go to this room at this time, you're going to see all industrial water, right? Or you might see all wastewater treatment or water infrastructure or ecosystem and oceans. You might see water for food and beverage. It's everything set up very well structured. But that's the middle day. That is what we call pitch day. It's preceded by prep day. Prep day is when we have presentation coaching. You actually get to go into the room where you're going to be presenting. And I know that for a lot of the clients and investors and accelerators, this is something new. This is not your typical just get up and talk or give a presentation like you would at a conference, right? This is a set structure. We're going to give you some coaching on that. And actually get you out of looking at the computer and actually connecting with the people in the room, right? So you really put on a good show. The other things that we do on prep day is we have these side rooms. And by the way, we do this at DC Water's HQO. If you have not been to that event center, that's how DC Water was able to pay for this very nice building right next to National Stadium instead of being down in the middle of the Blue Plains Treatment Center where the headquarters used to be. Is they have their board meetings there, but they also have the rest of the space is rented out. I mean, people get married here. This is a very nice space. So we had the main event, we have the the second room for we break out into the two tracks, but we also have all these side rooms where we're going to have workshops. We bring in some amazing people to talk about some of the things that startups need to know. And by the way, as we see it, a lot of the investment funds, a lot of the accelerators, a lot of the, even the client innovation groups, right? You're often doing a lot of the same things, right? A lot of you are also startups in a sense, right? You have to figure out, how to communicate, how to find your target market, what your revenue is, all this other kind of stuff. Right. So a lot of the stuff that we have in those workshops, you're going to get some value from as well. That's also when we have the startups set up their expo. And so as part of the ticket that the startups buy, they actually get to exhibit at our expo. And if we do this right, I think I can pull this off this year. If we do this right, we're going to be able to move up the prep day activities and have a little time in the late afternoon on that Monday, May 4th, when we can invite in members of Congress and their staff, people from the agencies, people from all the big associations in water. Everybody's here in Washington, D.C., right? And have them have a chance to touch and feel and play with all these neato cool technologies and really get a full appreciation for water startups, right? After that, the startup presenters who are going to be pitching and you, the reverse pitch presenters, are going to get to go out to dinner. You get to know each other a little bit before the main pitch day, right? So we want everyone to be relaxed. We want to get everyone comfortable before pitch day. Pitch day, man, that moves fast. Okay, pitch day, we have one keynote, we have some welcome messages, but after that, it's all pitches and reverse pitches all the way through the day. And you're going to get to go to the ones that mean the most to you, right? After that, we have reception. That's great. And then we have a third day. Third day is called Policy and Partnerships Day. So Monday and Tuesday, the 4th and 5th, we're going to be at DC Water, but on Policy and Partnerships Day, we actually go out into DC. So we start out that Wednesday the 6th with a Washington Insiders breakfast, right? What is really going on here in Washington? And by the way, as I said, my background, I've got 5 degrees in 5 fields, folks. I really thought I was going to be working in consulting and doing the most complex water issues and had a lot of experience creating not just meetings or events, but convenings that had a purpose, right? Planning meetings or policy development meetings and bringing the right people together in order to figure out, what are the real issues going on here and how can we all work together to move things forward. And we're looking to do that right now with the water entrepreneurship community. And as you may know, if you haven't been living under a rock, there's been a lot changing lately in terms of a lot of the things that feed into water entrepreneurship, right? A lot of the federal labs, including the EPA Office of Research and Development, and some of the places that have databases that are used by startups, a lot of that's gone away. A lot of the funding to the universities, all those labs that the professors will have, and then their students will spin off a technology, or their junior faculty will spin off a startup, right? A lot of that's going away. There's also talk about having the federal government get intellectual property and shares of any company that is created based on something with federal funding. I mean, things are changing so fast. And not a lot of people are paying attention, but we are. Okay. So you come to the event, you go to pitch day or prep day, and you get your practice in. You may go to some of these great workshops that we put together. You're part of the little reception that we have with all the big, the mucky mucks all over Washington, D.C. They're going to come to D.C. Water. They're going to see the stuff. You go out to dinner with the startups, and then you're there for a pitch day. You get to do your presentation. You get to see other things. You get to connect not only with the startups, but also with other investors, or other clients, or other accelerators, right? We call it pipelines and pathways. So we put the startups in the center. You guys are talking to startups, but you're also connecting with each other, right? Then we go out to the Washington Insiders Breakfast and a briefing by water startups. Now, why we're having a briefing by water startups isn't the water interests, aren't they all well represented by the big associations and the big, big lobbyists and everything? Well, let me tell you, the startups themselves, they're going to get that opportunity to have their say. And one of the reasons we're doing that is because there are a lot more public officials, there are a lot more members of Congress who are former entrepreneurs than um, than there are former water utility managers or scientists or lab managers or whatever, right? But they understand entrepreneurship. In fact, having worked on political campaigns since I was a junior in high school, when you start a new political campaign, that's actually very much like a startup, right? You got to get your messaging right. You got to get your team together. You got to get people to give you money for something that may or may not come to fruition. Think about it. Campaigns are very much like starting a startup, right? So anyway, we're going to go do Washington Insiders Breakfast and then briefing on Capitol Hill. And then we have every year we try to put in something new. So the last thing we're going to do on that third day is we're going to go over to the international side of DC, where all the embassies are, and the World Bank, and IFC, and all these other global organizations. And we are working on putting together a workshop. And we haven't confirmed it just yet, but it's going to happen. We're putting together a workshop for U.S. startups and their investors and funders and clients and whatnot who want to take these innovations overseas, and international startups that want to enter the U.S. market. Yes, there's tariffs. Yes, there's a lot changing right now. There's U.S. companies serving U.S. clients who have their manufacturing overseas, right? There's a lot changing. So we're going to get some of the folks from the administration or others who are watching what's going on to really explain what is happening by that time. And again, this is next May. So you're going to hear the latest, what's impacting water innovation and opportunities for startups going national and international startups come to the U.S. All these partnerships that have developed over the years between U.S. clusters and the ones in Korea and Germany and wherever else, right? UK. How do we continue to work together What's changed? How do we adapt, right? That's all being a startup. We always pivot, right? There's always a new opportunity. We'll figure it out. And we're going to figure it out together. We're going to figure out what partnerships are needed. It may be that some of the international folks want to work with some of the US folks. And so they can bring their innovations to the US. So we'll figure all that out. But these are some of the things that we're seeing happening that are impacting the water entrepreneurship community. And in order to do that, one of the things we really, really want to make sure that we're serving the needs of both the pitch presenters and the reverse pitch presenters. Now, the pitch presenters are going to pay to pitch. The reverse pitch presenters, you do not pay. And let me say that again. There is no charge for a selected reverse pitch presenter to present at WaterPitch. And the reason I bring this up is because last few years we kind of did the old school model, having like a planning committee, and there was this individual who used to be an employee of a company that produced a really good water innovation event. That by the time she invited me to moderate a session, by the time I got there a few weeks later, was no longer with the company for mysterious reasons. But got in touch with me, told me that they were starting their own company and that they had done this for these people and this for these people, and that they were going to come help us. Got access to our list, started contacting our presenters and telling them that they had been selected by DC Water or hosted by DC Water, but this is our event, right? They were contacted by DC Water to produce that event. And telling people, getting meetings with people and telling them that if they wanted to present, they had to be a sponsor. I want to be very clear about this. There's no requirement to sponsor this event. In fact, I don't know if I even want sponsorships after last year. We just rely on ticket sales. We provide great value and people pay us to come to our event, We're looking at other things as well, but this is how we operate. We don't charge you, and if you've heard that we did before, that's not how we operate. So you come, you do your reverse pitch, you get to participate in all the prep day activities and the pitch day activities and the policy and partnerships day activities. It's an amazing event. You don't want to miss this. It is, we moved the schedule so that we don't interfere with any of the other things that are going on in the water innovation space. Contacted all the other folks and say, where is that window that doesn't have conflicts with other events? So hopefully people did agree to that and left those 3 days alone. Now, the other thing is, if you're familiar with Water Citizen, so basically, I've spent decades working in environmental consulting with agencies and research institutes and whatnot, working on really complex, multidisciplinary, multi-objective, multi-stakeholder problems and convening events and developing decision support systems and all this stuff. And I kind of got to as far as I could go as a woman in my company. That's just a fact. That's just how it was. So when I had to kind of reinvent my career, and tried hanging my shingle for a while and then started Water Citizen, we started looking at the internet, how we could do things online. So we got in really early in terms of, social media marketing and all that kind of stuff that others later got on board with. And what I'm saying is that if you commit to presenting at our event next May, and you commit this fall, we're going to do a lot to promote you, your program, your organization, let people know who you are, what you do, before you even get to the event, right? Including what we call the Water Innovation Nation Year-End Celebration Virtual Summit. So as soon as we get your commitment that you're going to come and your the meals and materials fee, like $97, just to make sure we're covered in case something happens, you don't show up. Or, if you can't pay the $97, we'll call it a seat deposit. And if you stay for the full 3 days, we'll give it back to you at the end of the day, right? Whatever. The point is, if you commit to come to our event, and we put you on our website, and we start promoting you. We promote every single person on our program, right? We give you your own individual meme. We give your own, we write up your copy. We write you up in the program, the written program, and people love these written programs. They can actually take notes while they're listening to people. Um, we, and then of course we have the summit, which hundreds of people around the world came to our last summit, and they showed up on the release dates. We call it live, but they showed up on the dates that we release these summits, right? And they got to chat with the people who were speaking. So we get to record the video, the interview whenever we want. We have a set format for that. These are excellent interviews, and if you want to watch last year's, I'll put a link there down below so you can see what that looked like. But we have a lot of people showing up to this event, right? And so that's going to come up at the end of the year, and you can be part of that if you commit to coming next May. Now, in the beginning of the year, we're also going to be, doing little clips out of all those interviews, and we're going to be promoting all spring, so you can get a lot of promotional time out of this one little, reverse pitch that you do next May, right? So we want to take good care of you. We're also going to be doing our Keys to Water in Congress program to prepare the members of our Water Entrepreneur Leader Lab, so that they can do the congressional briefing in May. And you'll have an opportunity to join that if you'd like. But we're trying to bring together this entire water startup community. And I think this is really going to be it's going to elevate water innovation, and it's going to help people in the water entrepreneurship space to navigate all the changes that are happening right now that are really going to have a direct impact. The late stage investors may not see their deal flow changing right now because they're working with people who were startups years ago. But the ones that are starting now that had previously had access to databases or help from labs or SBIR grants or anything, so there's a lot of uncertainty going on. It's going to affect water innovation as a whole. And being here in Washington, D.C., as someone who really understands policy and partnerships and the opportunities to, as we change, how do we adapt to the changes that are going on? Right now, the Small Business Innovation Grant Research, that whole program is up for renewal and may or may not get approved by the Senate. So, that might come to a halt. I don't know who else is paying attention to this, but I'm here in DC, and I'm going to take care of that if nobody else will. So that's what you have to look forward to by being part of this community, by committing to speak next May. If family emergency comes up, you get sick, you miss your plane, whatever, just do your best to come, and if you can't come, have somebody else from your company come, right? Something comes up with your client or whatever, please make sure you have a substitute. We want to make sure that all these startups, that the percent of their runway that they spend on going to event after event after event in order to see people like you, if they see you on the program and you're not there, that really hurts, right? Not just my feelings, but just for me, it hurts them. So if you commit, you get to come. You don't have to pay anything other than this little $97 fee. And if you want to get it back to stay to the end of the program, we'll give it back to you, right? You get this Water Innovation Nation Celebration Virtual Summit. You get a whole interview where you can really get into what it is that you're doing and why and what's behind it and what do you have coming up, right? Why should people work with you, right? Especially for the startups, if for them to know that here's the things that you need to do at early stage. So when you get to the point where you're eligible for our later stage programs or funds, you've put the pieces in place, right? You don't want people showing up and find out that they haven't protected their IP or something like that, right? You want to make sure people are ready for you at whatever stage it is that you serve. So We want to put together this comprehensive program that supports the entire water entrepreneurship community. You are an important part of that. And we want to serve and support you. So all you need to do is, scroll below, get all the information, and fill out the little application. Tell us what it is that you want to do. Make sure that you're going to commit, that you or someone from your organization is going to show up, um, put in the $97 and we will start promoting the crap out of you. We are going to start introducing you to our community. We are going to start building up to next May's event. So again, you're a critical part of this, and I really hope that we can see you here, see you at WaterPitch next year. So if you're watching this, it's because, we want you there. So let's make this happen. That's it. And if you're watching anywhere else, go to waterpitch.org. And until we get to the end of the year, it's going to redirect to this page, not the full page. You can look below and if you want more information on the event. Okay, that's it.